Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. I am out of the garden now, I'm back into the craft room finally. I'm making my Christmas cards for this year for friends and family like I always do. I'm starting off, I'm going to mainly be using some 6x6 and 5x7 bases. I've got last year's Christmas cards as per usual that I've saved. I've cut all of the fronts off and I'm going to be grabbing all of my embellishments, which I now keep in this lovely container. I've actually got two of these. I got them from Hobbycraft, and I keep my bling and embellishments in one, and then my sort of elements, bits and pieces, scraps of paper that I've chopped up and stuff in the other one. But I'll probably do a video and show you those at some point in the future. I'm also going to be using my scraps of ribbon. Those are the rules. I only allow myself to use my scraps of paper, scraps of ribbon and old cards when I'm making cards for my friends and family. These are some of the embellishments and elements that I made last year. I'll link the videos to those below so you can have a look at those if you want to see how I made those. I've got quite a few more actually, but I'm only showing you a few here. And yeah, I think I'm going to crack on and make my first card. So this one is, these are just some scraps of paper that I had in my black and white drawer. I keep all my cut papers in colour order, and I'm using a tiny piece of double-sided tape just because I'm going to stitch around the outside of this topper, and I don't want the glue to interfere with my stitching, so I only needed to put a little tiny piece of glue on there just to keep it in place. I'm doing a zigzag stitch all the way around. That's my sort of preferred stitch, I suppose. And then I've just used double-sided adhesive to stick that down to the card front, burnishing that on, and then that is a sentiment that I cut off of another card, and I'm just adding a little bit of a faux stitching detail around that, and I'm going to use some dimensional tape just to give that a little bit of a lift off of the card. And then I think I'm going to add some bling onto my sewing mistakes. You'll see me do that quite a lot in this video. My sewing machine was playing me up, so while I was sewing on card, the tension, obviously I hadn't got it right and I couldn't get it right on this particular day, so rather than mess around with it, I just added bling to all of my little mistakes because that's what I like to do. And so this is card number 2, and this one, I think this was a front and a back of a card that I stuck back together again. I'm not quite sure what I did there, but anyway, I'm just gluing those together to make one piece of one sort of topper that will fit my 5x7 card. I've got some old gold ribbon. I've had this piece of gold ribbon kicking around forever, but it just seemed to work nicely with this card, so I'm just going to add some double-sided tape to it and then just eyeball it straight onto the card. Yeah, I think I'm using my grid just to line it up so I can get it fairly straight, but I'm not really that bothered. It's a handmade card, so you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, does it? That's my philosophy on these things. And again, I'm using the zigzag stitch to go around the edge of the card. And then I've got another sentiment piece that I cut from a card a few years ago. I can't remember where. It's just another Christmas card, and I've added some dimensionals to that little sentiment. It seemed to go really well with this little angel, thinking of you. And I've got a few friends that I am definitely thinking of this year. They've been through some tough times, so I'm sure I know who this card's going to go to. And then I am adding some more bling to my sew mistakes. Oh no, I'm not. Before I do that, I don't know if you remember last year I made these little parcels. Might have even been the year before actually. I'll add the link to the video of me making these little parcels. They're really simple to make. And then I'm adding the bling to my sewing mistakes. And I think that's pretty much that card all put together. I was pleased with how that one came out actually. It was quite pretty. I like that one. This one is completely, these are just real scraps of card that I've got that I'm putting together, just layering them together to make a nice base for my 3 little owls. The 3 little owls actually were 5 little owls originally, and I cut the card down into 3 owls and then another one. I've got 2 owls. You'll see those in the next card that I'm making, and I'm just placing them all down, stitching around the edging just to give it some nice texture and detail. And then I've got this little piece of sequins that are strung together. Again, I've had these kicking around forever, so I did manage to use up some stuff this year that I've had hanging around for years, which felt really satisfying, I've got to say. Excuse me. Yeah, it was a really good feeling using up stuff that I've had for a long time. Glued it down with some all-purpose glue, and then I've got double-sided dry adhesive again just to put the topper onto the card front, and then the obligatory bling to hide up my mistakes. So that's that one done. Next card is the other part of the owl card, so I just had 2 more owls left, and these little sentiments were from another Christmas card from last year, I think, actually, and they just seem to work really well. I think it says may all your dreams come true, and I'm going to make a little banner up for the little sentiment at the top, and again, that little bow that I found in my stash, that has been kicking around forever, so it was nice to use that up. And then I just glued those all together with some all-purpose glue just to make that little embellishment. And I've added some adhesive to the back of all of my bits and pieces. That red blingy piece of paper, that was actually an insert from another card. I just can't throw things away, so I'm layering everything up. I've got some dimensionals on my embellishments just to give them a bit of dimension, obviously. And I'm just going to layer that together. Using the all-purpose glue to stick my little ribbon on. And bling. I think I'll put the bling on my little stars just to give them a little bit of a lift. And that's that one put together. Now this one I added the adhesive straight onto the card because I only had a small amount of that red pattern paper, so I've put it either side of the topper that I'm going to use so that I didn't sort of waste a whole big piece of red paper. I only had that little bit of paper, so I needed to make it go round. And then I'm just going to add some ribbon onto my pattern paper just to give it a little bit more interest, and then I just snip that all off to make it even with the card, trimmed it all down. And then I found something else out of my stash that's been hanging around forever. This snowflake is like a little resin plasticky snowflake, but I pulled it off of a Christmas card years ago, and I just, you know, when you've got things and you think I'm going to use that one day, so this was my one day. And then I grabbed out some snowflake punch outs that I've used my punches to punch out of scraps of paper, and then just added some bling, and that is that one done. That was pretty simple. This one I'm using some toppers from last year. Last year I I grabbed out my cards and um, die cut some toppers out of some of the cards. So I'm just sort of like layering things, see how I like them. And I stitched these bits of card together. I didn't even glue them, I just stitched them and then glued them together with some adhesive, dry adhesive. I'm just placing everything down, using some dimensionals for the little topper just to give it a little bit of interest, and then rummaging through my stash to find something to hide my sewing mistake. And then I think I settled on this little flowery one. Added some all-purpose glue to that, because that will stick that quite well. And then I think I'm going to grab out some bling. Yep, no, decided on the green bling instead. And then added another little bit of green bling in the bottom just to give it a bit of balance. And that's that one done. And then I think this is the last card now. I've grabbed out another one of those pre-cut toppers that I did last year from old Christmas cards, and I used my grid and a ruler just to measure equal measurements all around the diameter of this circle. This is I'm just putting little dots all the way around, and then I punched holes on every single mark that I made, so that I had some equal marks all the way around the diameter of that topper. And then I'm using this red sort of blingy elasticated thread that heaven knows where that came from. I've had it for a really long time, and I've just threaded that all the way around that topper, using an embellishment from last year that I made that says Merry Christmas, I think. And I'm just layering up my little bits of paper. And sticking them all down. I use sort of red foiled scraps just to give it a little bit of an accent there. And then I've got a little bit of black bling for the robin's eye, and then some more bling. And that's that one done. And that is a wrap. That's all my cards for this year. I mean, obviously I made a lot more cards than that, but those are the ones that I shared with you guys. Anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.